This film, for lack of a better word, is heavy. The themes that we're going to discuss are triggering and traumatizing, yet very necessary. And I think any and every time we get the opportunity to discuss them, that's exactly what we should do. That said, we're going to discuss power, the abuse of power, the power of the mind, the body, and the spirit, the power of women, the power of colors. And what I hope is that we won't touch on every angle in this movie, but my hope is that in the comments, we'll discuss even further what the movie really was trying to hone in on and hopefully have a really productive conversation on what we take away from this film. That said, if I'm in danger, blink twice. Welcome back to another episode of Cue the Curtain. Blink Twice is a film that came out last year, August of 24, directed by Zoe Kravitz. And it's one of those films, I've seen it 3 times. I saw it when it came out, I saw it again on streaming. And when I knew I wanted to do this review, I watched it again. And it's one of those movies where every time you watch it, you see something differently. And once you understand what the movie is about, like just in general, the Easter eggs that they give you, they come sooner and sooner, right? Um, the story opens up with the main character, Frida. She is watching the interviews of her celebrity crush, essentially Slater King, played by Channing Tatum, who doesn't have a crush on him. And she is obsessed with him. She is one of the servers at his annual, the Slater King Gala. And her friend Jess, they get dressed up and kind of infiltrate their way into the ball so she can get to meet him for the first time. Now, y'all know how I go. It's going to be spoilers in this review, so I just want to preface that. That said, they hit it off, they talk, and he invites her to a private island. One of the things that I appreciate about this film is that it doesn't give you everything all at once, right? It really creeps up on you. It shows the shiny stuff first. It shows that he's a billionaire and he's handsome and he has all these resources, a private jet, a private island. And that's really how abuse works a lot of times. It's not always a man in a mask that grabs you from behind. It's usually somebody that you know or are familiar with, and they bait you in. They give you things and they compliment you, and they create a safe environment. And so if and when that abuse happens, you feel that much more violated because it's like, well, not them, they wouldn't do that to me. And that's kind of how the film made me feel. You don't know exactly, especially for the first time when you're watching it, you don't really know what's going on, but you feel like this impending doom because it's like, okay, it's at very pretty in the island and they have this great food and they have this overflow of champagne with the red raspberries. And so what is about to happen? What are you trying to show me? Much like abuse, is trying to pull you in, and before you know it, it's like quicksand. By the time you really get your footing and understand that you're in quicksand, you're already waist deep. One of the things I wanted to discuss was the power of the body and the power of the subconscious. There are several examples throughout the film where I think the body and the mind is trying to tell Frida and the other women that they are in danger and that they are in harm's way. One of the examples that I think was really at the beginning of the movie, Frida and Jess, they infiltrate their way into the ball, and Frida has on red, Jess has on blue, and we'll delve into the colors a little bit later. But they're walking, they're strutting in, they're saying east, west, right? And as Frida continues to walk towards Slater King, head held up, chest high, shoulders back, she slips and falls because her heel breaks. And I think that was probably one of the first indicators that her body was trying to give her that, no, we don't like him. He is danger. Now, her conscious mind does not remember any of this, right? And so she thinks, oh, well, my heel just broke, and he has a cute quip about it, and they start talking, and, the rest is history. But I think that was one of the first indicators that her body was trying to protect her, because her body kept the score and it was trying to keep her out of harm's way because it already knows how this story goes. Another example is the power of the subconscious. She subconsciously wondered, wait, how long have I been here? Her nails started chipping off. That was an indicator. And even the one of the maids calling her red rabbit, that stuck in her mind. Why was she calling me that? And it kind of spurred her to start exploring. She doesn't know why she's exploring just yet. I think that subconsciously she knows, okay, I have to figure out what's going on here, even though consciously she still doesn't remember. But I think that's another, and she starts to have dreams about things that she doesn't remember, just holding a knife and telling her, we got to get out of here. Certain things that did occur, but in her subconscious mind was trying to get her conscious mind to pay attention, but she still didn't understand what was going on. One of the scenes that always stands out to me every time I watch it is when Jess gets bitten by the snake. And again, she still does not remember what happened to her, but she starts to feel it in her body. Her and Frida are talking, and she says, something is off with this place, Frida. Like, don't you feel it? And the way she said it, I love that scene because she's looking at her like, am I going crazy? You don't feel it? There is something wrong. She doesn't really remember consciously what's going on, but her body is telling her, like that scene, Whoopi Goldberg, what's that movie when she said, you in danger, girl? Like her body is telling her, you're in danger. We got to get up out of here. And she said, I want my phone. I want to go home. And that was her body trying to tell her, like, it is time to go. And the big reveal is Frida had been to the island before. She sees a picture. Her hair was longer. She had the red rabbit nails. And she had already gone through this traumatizing experience, right? One of the things that I noticed now that she's back again is that she cut her hair. And I wonder if that was her subconscious because she was pulled by her hair the last time she tried to escape. She was pulled back. I wonder if that was her subconscious mind saying, okay, your hair was pulled. Your hair might make us vulnerable to danger. Let's cut it off. Like subconsciously. Maybe she just went, consciously, oh, I just want a new look. I just want to be free. But you always hear about, when women, they go through a big breakup or they go through a traumatizing experience or, a big change in life in general. We cut our hair, right? I wonder if subconsciously that's what she was thinking. Again, the body keeps the score. I wonder if that subconsciously she cut her hair in a matter of to keep herself safe. Time and time again, it shows you that the power of the body and the power of subconscious mind. They talk about the burnt toast theory. Whether you're maybe you have a stomach ache or a headache and you end up not wanting to go, or you just have a feeling about it and it's like, I just don't want to go anymore. Or you have a funny feeling about somebody else going out. Those are indicators, especially as women, I think that we have to pay attention to. Whether it's your body, your mind, your subconscious trying to tell you when you get that funny feeling, that's our bodies trying to tell us, trying to keep us out of harm's way, right? Because what we know about abuse, like I mentioned before, it kind of reels you in, and you get those moments early on, like, this isn't right. I'm not feeling comfortable. I don't like it. But you have something shiny and somebody funny and charismatic in front of you, and they kind of keep you from really paying attention to what your mind and your body is trying to tell you. One of the other things I want to discuss is the power of colors. Colors in this movie, I think every time I watch it, I get a new theory about the colors. And I'll delve into what I noticed. And I want to shout out a TikTok creator, the Don0801. She did a few videos on the colors in Blink Twice, which I really appreciated. And Paulina, film and TV girl, also on TikTok. I thought they really did a really good job of kind of analyzing what the colors mean. What I didn't know, what the Don 0801081 brought up, is the power of blue. Typically in nature, The color blue is almost always indicative of something being poisonous or something being a little dangerous, because especially bright blue. When nature goes out of its way to create something bright blue, it wants you to pay attention to it, right? And so Jess is the first one you see in blue. She's also the first one to die. Blue is also the color of the masks that the women have on when they're having their girls' day. And they finally realize that, wait, we have somebody missing. Jess isn't here. Where is she? They have on blue masks when they discover this. We also have the color red. The color red, I think, was indicative of losing your memory. Frida has on red when she meets Slater King. The perfume is red. The bags that the perfume are in are red. The flowers that they extract to create the perfume are also red. Red is indicative, and every time Slater's assistant, what's her name? Stacy. Slater's assistant is always like spilling the bags of the red bags, and she's always like forgetting something. She you can even say that she probably was using the perfume too, right? But that the color of red clearly indicates misremembering, forgetting, and kind of hones in on the theme that they say throughout the movie, that forgetting is a gift. I also think about the color yellow. Yellow, when Jess is bitten by the snake, she has a yellow towel around her head. Yellow is also the color of the snake that has the venom that allows you to remember. And yellow is also the color of the lighter, of Jess's lighter, that everybody forgets and then they remember it. Oh, where is it? Somebody else, somebody new has it every time. So I think yellow was indicative of memory, you losing your memory, but then it coming back. And then I think about the color white. White, that they all have to wear white, especially the women. They wear white every day. And I can't really say, some people think that it's a play on the Adam and Eve, the garden of Adam and Eve, and how the snake baits you in, and how you are Adam and Eve was oblivious to what was going on until they took the bait or took the offer from the snake. And so maybe like that, the color white emphasizing purity and innocence before you know really what's going on. And I want you all's I want you all's takeaway in that. Tell me what you think about the color white in the film. But I thought that colors in this film were incredibly important, and I think Zoe did a great job on bringing the symbolism of the colors back again and again and again, to hone in on that, red, and you could even say, simply put, red flag, like he was just a red flag from the beginning. The castle is red when they pull up. It's again and again, the symbol of colors kind of hones in on that this space is not safe, and these women are in real danger. And going and focusing on the women, I also think about the power of women. It wasn't until the men wanted to go out fishing, and the women said, we're just going to have a girls' day. It wasn't until that time where it was just the women that they really tried to figure out, especially Frida and Sarah figured out that what was going on. Frida and Sarah at first were at odds, because Sarah wanted Slater King, Frida wanted Slater King, and they're kind of going back and forth trying to get his attention. But then when they really talk about, where is Jess and what's going on, and I feel like I'm having a good time, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not having a good time, and they start seeing bruises on themselves, and one of the girls cut bangs, but she doesn't remember. All of these things they're talking about with each other, and then they start to drink the snake venom all together, and they slowly but surely start to remember. And even when they remember, even when they, now clearly understand that they've been being abused and assaulted this entire time, they can't show their hand yet, because they know that the power dynamic is still in favor of the men. They can't just call 911 and say, oh, we're being abused. We have to have evidence. They know they have to have evidence. They can't just say something and be believed. And on top of that, physically, they can't really just attack the men right now. They have to get the men in a more vulnerable spot, right? But it crushes you when you see, especially Sarah and Frida now understanding what has been happening to them. And Frida says, just keep smiling. And Sarah says, well, what do I do? She says, just relax, act like everything is normal, and just keep smiling. That's what we have to do sometimes as women, right? Like, even when we are the victim and we've been victimized, we've been shamed, we've been abused. If we're in an environment where we would like to be believed and we want justice, sometimes we have to swallow it first and we have to come out with a strategy. We can't just come out with it sometimes because you may not always be believed. You have to strategize and come up with a plan. And sometimes you have to smile through it before you can really show your pain. And I thought that was really indicative. And I thought that obviously symbolizes and is indicative of what a lot of women go through when women suffer from abuse. But I thought it was a really great way to show that as soon as the women came together, they started figuring out some shit, and it was like, okay, we are not in a safe environment. All of these men are monsters, and we have to figure out how to get out of this alive. I also want to talk about the abuse of power. I was talking about this with my girlfriend, and she was mentioning how her husband said what stood out to him was Slater King and Frida. Frida was already into him, as was Sarah. Frida was already into him. So if he would have just continued to romanticize and, flirt with her, she likely would have gave it up anyway. Why did he have to assault her or get other men to assault her, right? Like she probably would have, not to other men, but she probably would have gave it up to him eventually. And it made me think how, because the end game, that's not really the point. The point is control. The point is power. The point is, in a weird sadistic way, I don't want you to necessarily enjoy it. I don't want you to have agency over your body. I want agency over your body. I want to be able to tell you when we're going to do this, how, what. I want to be able to control your space, your in to violate your safe environment. I take joy in that control. And I think that's what a lot of abuse kind of really trickles down to. It's not necessarily about the sexual act. It is about the shame. It's about the humiliation. It's about the control and having control over somebody else. And Slater being a billionaire, of course, he controls a number of people, but that isn't where it stops, right? He wants even more and more control. So much so that once he gets the control of someone's memory, he now, ships it out to his friends, to his therapist, his colleagues, whatever, so that they can wield that same amount of control to whomever. And even the way the perfume works, he mentions that the more traumatizing it is, the more powerful it is. Like the more powerful that they forget, the more likely it is that they forget everything, the more traumatizing the event is. Kind of controlling the narrative. And one of the themes that I mentioned before, one of the things that they say throughout the film is that forgetting is a gift. There is no forgiving, just forgetting, right? And it made me think about, how does forgetting benefit the abuser versus the victim? For the victim, forgetting may be honestly temporary relief, right? You may not remember consciously, but just like what we were talking about, the body keeps the score. The body is always going to remember. Your subconscious also. But consciously, you can have some temporary relief of just kind of shutting it out and forgetting and not wanting to think about it. But sometimes that happens, right? And you can suppress it, internalize it, and then something happens. You see a color, you hear a sound, you smell something, and then it triggers you and it brings you right back that harmful, traumatizing memory right to the front of your brain, and you feel it all over again. So when it comes to the victim, forgetting it's only a temporary relief. It doesn't really allow you to heal from that experience, right? And then when it comes to the abuser, I feel like forgetting, it just lets them off, right? When the victim forgets and the abuser kind of can go on with their life, much like when Slater said that he was playing tennis with his abuser. Your abuser can now say that I play tennis with him now. That's history. That doesn't happen anymore. Nobody thinks about that anymore. He gives the abuser an out. Not to mention that with forgetting, they can just go on to the next victim and continue the abuse. And so it made me think how forgetting isn't a gift. Forgetting is certainly not a gift for the victim, the one that was traumatized. It's only a gift for the abuser, for the one that is trying to wield their power. Now, let's discuss the controversial yet powerful ending of Blink Twice. In the end, you see Frida, they're at the gala yet again. Now, Frida is Slater's wife, and she is the CEO of Slater King Enterprises, right? And even the therapist tries to greet Slater. Slater doesn't remember him at all because Frida has put that perfume into Slater's vape pen, and she gets the guards to kick him out, and I guess it's implied that he's eventually imprisoned or at least kicked out of the gala. Some people felt like, well, why didn't Frida just kill him? I thought it was interesting, but and while I do understand that sentiment, I thought this ending was better than just kind of killing him off because, like the rest of the men, because then you see that Frida takes her power back. She's not just a victim, she now has wielded, she's taking that power and her agency and put it back into her hands. Not only that, but it's implied that now that Frida has this perfume, that she can use it. It's not implied that she uses it, but at least she can stop the abuse of it. Her and Sarah killed all of the men, so she stops their abuse, but then she can stop the abuse of the other men that were being gifted the perfume or purchasing the perfume. She stops their abuse as well. And so she saves not only herself as a victim, she saves others as well. And she does not allow that this toxic perfume, or at least the toxic uses of this perfume, to continue on. And so I thought that was really powerful. She doesn't, again, she does not just kind of simmer in her victimhood. She takes her power back. She has him sitting right next to her, but now she's the one in charge. Her story does not end with the shame and the fear and the humiliation of the events that transpired on that island. Now she can take what happened on that island, and yes, it will still be with her, but she can at least say from that, I did not allow it to happen to anybody else. I have essentially burnt down that island, and any and everybody who was a perpetuator of that abuse, I can go after them now with my newfound power. I think that's really, and I think that's what it's about. I think I really enjoyed this film. As you could probably imagine, I really enjoyed this film. I encourage everybody to watch it. I know I say that every time, but I really do. Watch this film. Tell me what you noticed. Tell me what you see. Tell me what Easter eggs you noticed early on, when it comes to the colors, when it comes to the women and the men and how they interact. What I thought was really crazy is how the men could go day to day knowing that they perpetuated such abuse and such violent acts toward these women, and then have breakfast with them the next morning. I thought that was just some on a sociopath level. Honestly, that was like really scary, but I guess that's real, right? When you are a victim of abuse, the abuser, they don't have a consciousness. They probably, if they did, they wouldn't be doing it in the first place. You know, like they don't have a real consciousness. They don't have a real strong tie or rooted into any morality. Not really. So they're able to smile in your face, during the day, and then do these heinous things to you in the night, and then do it all over again. Um, Again, I thought this movie was very powerful. I thought Zoe Kravitz did her thing. But I'm curious as to what you all think, what you all took away from the movie, and what you think that the movie was trying to hone in on, especially with that ending. What kind of message were they trying to send to us now that Frida has her freedom and took her power back in that way? What do you think they were trying to tell us? Thanks for coming back to another episode of Cue the Curtain. I know I was going for a minute. Now I'm back with the jump off, goons in the back, case something pop off. The whole thing. My bad. I was going, but I'm back now. I'm back. We're going to get consistent again. I was out of town, blah, blah, blah. I was doing my thing. You know what I mean? I was out here, but I'm back. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm coming with another episode next week. I already know what movie I'm going to do, and then I'm going to do another play. So this is really morphing into plays, musicals, and movies, okay? It's funny because one of my girlfriends said, oh, you should review Love Island Reunion. I said, I'm not doing that. We do hard-hitting journalism over here, okay? Hard-hitting stuff. So if you have a hard-hitting movie, comment below. Let me know. I want to get your thoughts on any plays, musicals, cinema that you'd like me to review. I'm open to any and all of it. Come back for another episode of Cue the Curtain. Thanks for watching. Bye.